Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com, coming to you live from Corner of the Galaxy Studios on Thursday, December 27th. That's right, in between that weird week where Christmas starts, or Christmas is over and the New Year is just getting ready to start. We are back with an update on all your LA Galaxy news. I'm your host, Josh Guesman. Joining me in studio is Eric the Portuguese Hammer Vieira. We have a lot to get to, a lot of interesting news that certainly came about recently. We're going to talk about the passing of Sigi Schmid, the legendary MLS coach, and of course legendary LA Galaxy coach. Then we're going to talk about the hiring of Guillermo Barros Schelotto. We have all the new signings to get you updated on. We'll go through the rumors and all the off-season stuff that's getting ready to take place, including SuperDraft, MLS Combine, and the results of the re-entry draft in the Stage 2 portion of that draft. So, a lot to get to, a lot of things to start with, but before we do a whole bunch of that, let's make sure we check in with Eric. Eric, how's it going, buddy?
It's going all right. It's glad to be here.
Yeah.
A belated Merry Christmas to all the listeners out there, and a Happy New Year in advance.
I was going to say,
we're in that middle zone, just cover all your bases.
It's a weird week.
Yeah.
I don't know if you don't have to work right now. I know that.
I'm fortunate enough to, the winter break for the educators, it kind of works out nicely where I get to enjoy Christmas. I actually enjoy it when it's backed up closer to Christmas, because then you get the longer break after the New Year. So I'm fortunate to be off work, spending time with the kids, getting some quality time with all those Christmas toys. So times are good right now.
I was going to say that it seems that I was back at work today, and it seems like nobody else is working. So, my phone calls go unanswered, all that fun stuff.
Like, why even bother? Why do we fake it?
Did you have a good holiday at least?
I did have a good holiday.
All right.
Very good holiday.
Thank you.
How about yourself?
Yeah, it was wonderful. I would like to say that the spirit of Santa Claus is alive and well in my 7-year-old son. So,
that's good.
So he even heard sleigh bells ringing.
Ooh.
I don't. He didn't
dip
into any of the
package.
He didn't. He didn't dip into any of the adult beverages or adult beverages, as he used to say. So no, it was good. He enjoyed it and everything. And of course, I have a brand new nephew who is, let's see, if today's the 27th, is 12 days old.
Wow.
Yes. So,
that's right. Fresh.
So
spanking
Jack,
new. Still got that new baby smell.
My nephew Jack is doing very well too and enjoyed. I imagine he enjoyed his first Christmas. I have no idea.
He didn't not enjoy it.
Sure, we'll go with that. I don't know where emotions are with a 17-day-old, but obviously a lot of stuff. Now, we'll have to start. It's going to be on a down note. We all know that coming into this, but we wanted to start with it. As we have been going along, Kevin Baxter and I have been doing our best to get you updated on the status of Sigi Schmid. We told you whenever he went into the intensive care unit. I believe he went in on December 10th. From all the reports that sort of came around, it looks like he was waiting for a heart transplant. And unfortunately, on Christmas Day, I believe it was actually in the afternoon sometime, Sigi Schmid passed away at 65 years old. This is interesting. I was talking with some Galaxy fans and just trying to parse through this and some of my good friends and trying to say, this is the first LA Galaxy coach to pass away.
Yeah.
So there's that. It's also, for the most part, it's the first, MLS legend coach to pass away.
That's an interesting way to put it, because when you think about it, relatively the league as a whole is very young.
Right.
The team is very young. So there just isn't that history. So, and obviously with time, these things are going to happen. With Sigi, I think it was sooner than maybe, most would have hoped, but these things are going to happen. So it does kind of put things in perspective. And I was talking about this on another podcast, shout out to the King's Realm.
Because you were cheating.
I was cheating on a different show.
Yes.
But they said, well, wasn't he just fired? Didn't it end on bad terms? But you let all that go. You celebrate, especially when you look at the list of accomplishments, the things he did for this club. He loved the game. He loved the sport, the things he did for soccer in this country. And you let those things go. You don't look back and let the last, pieces that may have been a little bit tainted. You don't worry about that, because you look at the life as a whole, 65 years, and you're not going to let the last, 6 months dictate all the great accomplishments that he had prior to that.
No. The fact that he spent 19 years coaching at UCLA, the fact that he moved to the United States when he was very young, ended up going to a high school in Torrance. So he's a local kid for all that matter. Went to UCLA. I think eventually went to USC for a master's. I mean, so you're talking about a local product guy who ended up winning 3 NCAA national championships, won 2 MLS Cups, 13 of 19 postseason bursts. Unfortunately, Galaxy wasn't one of them there at the end. Supporter Shield in 2002, 2008, and 2014. A CONCACAF Champions Cup, which we were talking about, has been omitted from almost every article, and I feel bad. I missed it. That 2000 CONCACAF Champions Cup with the LA Galaxy. A U.S. Open Cup in 2001 with the LA Galaxy, then Open Cups in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2014, MLS Coach of the Year in 1999 and 2008. He's a National Soccer Hall of Fame inductee twice, by the way.
Yeah, that's impressive. I remember that story from listening.
Yeah, Kevin has told Kevin has told it a bunch of times.
Story.
But Sigi was inducted as part of the very first ever class of AYSO in 1964. He was one of the first kids ever to play in AYSO, which I would imagine, and I didn't look it up, but there are millions of kids who play AYSO every year. Sigi Schmid was one of those first teams, first ever for AYSO, and was inducted into the National Soccer Hall of Fame for that, and then inducted in the National Soccer Hall of Fame because of all of his accomplishments as a coach as well, and everything else. I mean, with the U20s, and you go and see all the players talking about the U20s and how Sigi Schmid gave them a chance in that U20 camp. Sean Franklin talked about the U20s. I think AJ De La Garza may have talked about the U20s as well. But like all these different people have been touched by Sigi Schmid and what he did. And you go in there, he passes away as the all-time winningest MLS head coach with 240 wins. He was a reason that soccer in the United States is where it is at right now, and that's not an understatement.
Yeah, I think there can be a lot of hyperbole that gets thrown around and say, an impact on U.S. soccer, but you really look at it, and especially when you consider the local connections, because you think of UCLA in its heyday, that they are a soccer powerhouse. That is where Kobe Jones, Kevin Hartman, a lot of these players who went on to have great MLS careers came from the UCLA programs that Sigi Schmid built, and so that became a pipeline for a lot of players. Eddie Lewis is another guy who comes to mind, who came from that world. So, and just the fact that he loved the game, and I think that's something that when you're seeing a lot of great tributes from players,
right.
And it's not just LA Galaxy players, it's people, who have touched him with his connections to U.S. soccer, and they just tell stories about how much he loved the game, and he would do anything just to watch it, just to sit down and watch the game. And even when, he was brought in for his second stint with the LA Galaxy, he was seen at LA Galaxy 2 games and LA Galaxy games. He just loved to be around the game and to watch it and study it and analyze it. And I think for that really shows through in all the player tributes that talk about him. And I think that's a lasting legacy that his family should be proud of.
Yeah. Can we say that, and not to like be punny at all, but I mean, the guy couldn't live without soccer.
Yeah.
He was one who breathed the game, and whenever he was out of it, he wanted to be back in. I mean, we all remember that he was at almost every LA Galaxy home game after he got let go from the Sounders, from the Seattle, and then he became, and then eventually he ends up getting the job, and takes it after Curtin Alfo was fired. All those different things. And listen, whenever he was fired by the LA Galaxy this past September, on September 10th, you go back and you look at that and you say, I specifically asked the Galaxy whether health was a reason for sort of the parting of ways at that particular time. And let's not sugarcoat it. He was fired by the Galaxy. We all know that. And they may have said it was a mutual parting of ways, but he didn't want to go.
Yeah. Someone always makes it mutual first.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't think that checks out.
That's exactly how that works. So you look at that. I mean, this is a guy, and they said health was not a reason. You have to imagine some of that played in, especially as we now go back and know that he was not healthy during that 2018 season, this last season. And with all the travel demands that are even placed on, these athletes, Eric, it's difficult to understand how Sigi Schmid even made it through it, because he was not a healthy guy, and the players were concerned about that throughout the season as well.
Yeah, if you talk to any, I have some family members who travel a lot for work, and that's a grind that wears you down. So when you talk about, athlete travel, that's definitely a real thing. And so when you have a coach who's, older, that definitely plays a toll on you. And I think whether or not health was a factor in the parting of ways, it really shouldn't matter. But it just, it's kind of a something that people should take note of as well, is that taking care of yourself is something that, you never know what's going to happen. So you can never be too cautious.
I'll take you back to the first time I actually got to meet Sigi Schmid in person. It was after Kurt Adolfo had been let go, and Sigi Schmid was running training, and the Galaxy. It was probably a Sunday game at one point, and I got to go and actually talk to Sigi before seeing him in a press conference setting or anything like that. But I went and it was a Sunday game, which is usually means I get to go to training on Saturday. So I went on Saturday and I found out the Galaxy were training on the main field. So they were training at the which is interesting. It doesn't always happen, but Sigi liked to train on the main field the day or two before a game because he would like to get the guys sort of, in the sight lines of that field and understand which it makes sense to me.
There's a psychology to it. I get it.
There's totally something to it. So he was there, and I remember, and I asked Chris Glidden, who's PR for the LA Galaxy, I'm like, hey, I'd love to talk to Sigi. And he goes, Sigi's probably not going to talk. And I said, I understand, no problem. So I go, then can I talk to Dominic Kinnear? And he's like, well, he goes, sort of, we usually have to run that through Sigi as well, and then the whole deal. And so Chris goes, let me see what I can do. No problem. So now, I'm like, whatever you can do, that'd be great. I'd like to get somebody for, the story I'm writing so that way I could do it. So I waited, and Chris went over and talked to Sigi, and Sigi smiled and started walking my direction and went over, and I was introduced, and Sigi goes, I said, Sigi, Josh Guesman, Corner of the Galaxy. He goes, Corner of the Galaxy. He goes, tell me a little bit about that. I said, we started in 2009 as a podcast. We have a news website as well. And he goes, so are you a professional? I go, well, I go,
yeah. Be careful how you phrase that.
Right.
Yeah.
I go, that depends on sort of how you look at it. Like I'm a professional podcaster. That I can say. Whether anybody considers me a professional writer or a professional beat, that's up to you. I don't get paid for any of this, so it's kind of hard to say professional. But I hold myself to that standard. He was really interested in it, asked me a couple questions, and then said, it was really nice meeting you. Blah blah blah. And we went, and I asked him my questions, and he was just the nicest. Really took the time, and it was just me. I was the only reporter there, so he could have just blown me off because that happens all the time. Bruce Arena used to do it. That's fine. I get it. You guys don't want to talk. That's how it goes, and Bruce liked me, by the way, even if he didn't remember my name ever. Juan Guzman is much better than Josh Guesman, so I keep that.
It rolls off the tongue a little nicer. Let's be honest.
That's right. So anyway, doing that whole thing. But Sigi was always in press conferences or anytime we got to ask him questions, he was honest and he was candid with his responses. I mean, Bruce Arena likes to play a game where he won't tell you the answer that you want to hear, and he's sort of going to talk around it a whole bunch, but he thinks it's fun. So
does it on his own terms.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so you do that. Sigi would just tell you what it was, and he didn't like to call players out by name, but he would if he really thought it would be beneficial. But for the most part, it was, hey, the team needs to do better, blah, 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 the whole deal, that type of thing. But I mean, the other side to Sigi Schmid is if you've ever been to any one of his trainings where it was a closed training and you were standing outside the fence, the F-bombs and the curse words would fly left and right. And by the way, Bruce Arena did that as well. In fact, one of Bruce Arena's favorite targets was Omar Gonzalez. And some of the things he said to Omar Gonzalez made me blush. So Bruce had that too, but Sigi had that. That was sort of the juxtaposition between Dominic Kinnear and Sigi Schmid was that Dominic would criticize you in your ear. He would come up to you and talk to you and say, hey, you need to do this better. And out loud, that was a great play, good job, blah, blah, blah. He would be really loud with the praise. And Sigi was kind of a little bit the opposite, which is in your ear, he would say.
Good cop, bad cop. Tale as old as time there.
Exactly. So that's all it is. And it's no wonder everybody wanted to play, was more than happy to play with Dom after Sigi. Sigi thought he had to make the hard decisions. Yeah. And, there's guys who didn't like him because they weren't playing. I mean, that makes sense. I wouldn't like a coach that didn't play me either. I think
someone
should be
has to. Well, there's only 11 spots on the field. Someone has to make those decisions.
Yeah. So I mean, but overall, the smile, the way that he approached the game, the media, the fans, he was always seemed to be, up for the interaction, and knowing that he wasn't healthy in the 2017 or 2018 season. And still seeing that interaction, I mean, goes a lot. And you like I said, we've seen all of the tributes from the fans and from the players and everything, and so you just sort of understand how big he was, for U.S. soccer, for MLS in particular. And this is a guy who never really got to coach the national team. I mean,
but even without coaching the national team, he still played a role in supporting the national team, and I think that's why it's important. And you mentioned, that's a great story about him taking the time to speak with you, and a lot of members of the media shared their experiences with him as well. And I think when players speak well about you, the media speaks well about you, fans speak well about you, that says a lot about your character as a person. And I think, that's the way, he'll want to be remembered. And I think that's, it's really a great thing, all the stories that people leave behind, because it's really touching reading all of them. And you're right with the smile. I do, the season, the way things ended with the Galaxy, you saw a little bit of that frustration, but his first stint with the Galaxy, you saw that smile. When he did it with Columbus and he did it with Seattle, you saw that joy and that happiness on the sideline, and I think that's how he's going to be remembered.
Yeah, it will be. I have some statements to read from his family and then from the LA Galaxy as well. Just some quick stuff. Schmidt is survived by his wife Valerie and his 4 children. Eric Lacey Kurt, who still is head of scouting for the LA Galaxy as of right now, and Kyle. So Eric Lacey Kurt and Kyle. And his wife Valerie are that. So let's get to these statements. This is the statement from the family. On Tuesday, December 25th, Sigi Schmid passed away at Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center in Los Angeles due to a personal health matter. Our family is deeply saddened by his passing and is taking this time to grieve the loss of a tremendous husband, father, leader, and mentor. We also recognize how much Sigi meant to so many people across the U.S. soccer landscape and around the world at different levels of the game. That community meant a great deal to him as well, and for that reason, it was important to us that we share the news of his passing. While we mourn his loss, we appreciate privacy during this challenging time and will not be issuing further statements. In lieu of flowers or other gifts, the family asked to please consider a memorial gift to support the men's soccer program at UCLA, Sigi's alma mater. Donations in memory of Sigi may be directed to the attention of Emily Lerner of UCLA Athletics at 310-206-3302 or Lerner, ELERNER at athletics.ucla.edu, and you can find that statement. I think almost on any sort of memoriam or obituary that has Sigi has the family statement. The LA Galaxy came out with a statement of their own. The LA Galaxy are deeply saddened by the passing of Sigi Schmid. Sigi was a pillar of the Southern California United States soccer community. He was a pioneer, and his influence on the sport of soccer in the United States will long be felt. Sigi was a man of character, a good father, husband, friend, and a passionate coach who respected everyone. He will always be a part of our family. We mourn his loss and offer our deepest sympathies to his family during this difficult time. And all of us here at Corner of the Galaxy obviously extend those sympathies to his family. Kurt Schmidt has been on this program before, talking about sort of his duties as scouting. I think he's a great asset to the LA Galaxy. I hope he stays around, but obviously right now, dealing with the loss of his father, not something easy to do, and so we hope that everybody can understand that Sigi's in a better place, and hopefully his memory will live on for a very long time. I know in LA Galaxy land that's not hard, with all the impact that he's had with the Galaxy.
Yeah, and he's cemented. He's someone, the first MLS Cup championship was on the shoulders of Sigi Schmid, and so for that he'll be forever cemented in LA Galaxy history. And when you talk about UCLA, not only did he build that program while he was there, in his passing, his family asking for donations to be made to the men's soccer program. So even when he's gone, he's still going to, give back to UCLA. And so that's a touching piece as well.
As it should be. All right. We're going to now turn the page a little bit, as we have to do.
Yes.
And we have to move on. And obviously our thoughts will continue to be with Sigi and his family and just that whole situation. But we're going to move on and talk now about the LA Galaxy and some of the signings that we have. We're going to get to Guillermo Barros Schelotto, of course. But let's start with, and I don't believe we've got to this, and it's been so long between shows, Eric. Did I say this?
It's the winter hibernation period.
Yeah, it is. I get a little confused sometimes. LA Galaxy have signed, and I know everybody's going to be like, didn't you talk about this? But LA Galaxy have signed Dave Romney and Chris Pontius to new contracts. We know that Romney signed a 2-year deal plus a 1-year option, so that's a 3-year deal with the 3rd year being an option. If you go to the website, you could see Corner of the Galaxy. We have all the details on that particular contract. And then Chris Pontius back. So we told you that Dave Romney was probably going to be back. We told you that Chris Pontius was going to be back. I still have hope for Ima Boateng, but I'll tell you, as I've said, I think on this podcast before, that Emmanuel Boateng's future with the LA Galaxy is up in the air right now, and I don't have a direction of which way that's leaning. So Romney and Pontius signed new contracts with the LA Galaxy. They're back. They've already signed Rolf Felcher to a new contract. They brought in Juninho, which I believe we talked about as well. So the LA Galaxy quickly moving through this roster, and as you go, Eric, and look at this, the other guy that we need to throw in there now is Matt Lampson, the goalkeeper who was picked up in the 2nd round of the re-entry draft. Matt Lampson joins the LA Galaxy as well, probably as the number 2 goalkeeper. So those are sort of the signings that I've had, and now I have the LA Galaxy roster at 21 players.
I was going to say the pieces are falling together. So when you look at it and you say, look at where they need to add, the re-signing of these players, the roster construction as is, and I think we were, discussing this off the air as well. Technically, they have a team ready to start and ready to play. with the exception of the 4 designated players. They still need to figure that out.
But if minor detail.
If you just look at the roster configuration, they have a team that can compete in Major League Soccer ready to go. So it's just a matter of fine tuning and, of course, addressing some of those defensive pieces. But Romney, given the season that he had last year, doing everything that the LA Galaxy asked him, glad to see him back, glad to see him being compensated for the hard work that he did. And then Pontius, he's going to play an important role. He was missed towards the end of last season, and then bringing in depth with Juninho, 28-year-old Juninho, 29-year-old Juninho.
Yeah.
He's
aged, still young though. He's still young though.
That's what I'm saying. He's not. It's not an old man Juninho. Right. We're getting someone who's still going to be a serviceable member in the midfield.
Yeah, we have to talk about that. A serviceable member of the midfield, not a starter though. I mean, in no sort of situation that I've seen so far are you putting Juninho in as a defensive midfielder starter next to Jonathan Dos Santos
after a year off. Yeah, I don't think that's a viable option to start. Maybe he plays his way into it and maybe some things happen and we start seeing flashes, but I think the expectation should not be that he's our starting, on opening day, March 2nd against Chicago, that he's the starting midfielder, unless we have a very unfortunate set of circumstances. Going to knock on wood there.
Yeah, and we had Fabian in the chat room says, "Hey, have you guys heard about the Ike Opara-Ola Kamara trade possibility?" And that is, listen, it was floated as an idea. Yeah. It's not necessarily something that will happen, but it was like, hey, the Galaxy needed a defender, and they have Ola Kamara, and Sporting Kansas City would like to get Ola Kamara, and they need to get rid of Ike Opara. And it's a lot of moving pieces.
A lot of vowels, a lot of syllables going on there. So, and that's the thing. Let me ask you this question, since you're the reporter here, the professional podcaster.
Oh wow! You're gonna just bring that
put you on this.
Okay, cool.
You see those things like Kamara for Opara and a lot of the rumors going around. How do you know what to believe, what not to believe, or do you not?
I don't a lot of times. So it's funny. I was actually talking to a source today, and I was saying, and I sent them something, and I'll go over some of the rumors that I was sending. I was like, hey, I go, have you heard of this? And they're like, no, I don't even know who that dude is.
Yeah, because it's all good in theory.
Right.
But where's their smoke to this fire?
Yeah, and so I go, okay, and I go, well, Google him, right? And he's like, okay, and so he Googles him. He's like, yeah, I don't think that's a guy that we're looking at. And I'm like, okay, that's good. And he goes, how do you keep track of all this stuff? And I'm like, honestly, I don't pay any attention to anything outside the Galaxy until it's mentioned by the Galaxy, and then I go look and try to figure out if it makes sense. We saw a whole bunch of, and we're going to get to them, the rumors about midfielders, Eric, and I kept going, there's no way the Galaxy are signing any more midfielders. They have them all, unless they're moving pieces that we don't know about, which I just don't believe is the case. So you go and look, and so that's always the first thing that I take a look. Does this make sense? So technically, Ike Opara and Ola Kamara make sense in a way that, Sporting Kansas City would like to get somebody like Ola Kamara. He's an expensive contract, but Ike Opara wants more money, and if they want more money, then Sporting Kansas City can't afford him, and so they'd be trading, and it might be something that could work for the Galaxy, and the Galaxy need a center back.
It's all hypothetical, but I think if you remove Kamara, he was an unsung hero. I don't think if he were to go, that'd leave a big hole. I think,
but you're also playing him out of position. Yeah, remember, but
look what he did playing out of position.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. No, I mean that's sort of the whole argument though. Is like, do you move him to a place where he's going to play his natural position? I think there's a thing that people also said that there's no way Peter Vermees will be ever like trade anything with the Galaxy. Like that would never happen because if he makes the Galaxy better.
A stud, central defender. That's like giving away your backbone. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was good. It was brought up in the chat room as well as that, with Ola Kamara, you have the future of the LA Galaxy. That's a 3-year deal he signed, and if you remember, Corner of the Galaxy confirmed that back last year. A nice little bit of
feather in the cap there.
Yeah, that was. We also broke the Dave Romney news. Oh, boop, there you go. Okay, so get them right whenever I can get them right.
You really are a professional podcaster.
Every once in a while, it happens. But no, if you look at that, when Zlatan goes away after the end of this year, which is likely, could there be a year extension? Sure, there could be. Are you counting on it? No, probably not. But if you're doing all that, you need Ola Kamara is your future. Is your future striker. And so if you're keeping him, which he's making, I think, almost $900,000 a year, if you're keeping him, you've already basically said, hey, we want to keep you. We're going to pay you money.
And it's an investment in the future.
It's an investment. So you didn't just sign him for that just for 1 year and now you're going to move him. But you could.
Where you still haven't utilized him in his natural position. Yeah. So
here's the thing about all this, though, is that if you look at it, and people were complaining before Schelotto got hired and really before Dennis Teclosa.
Hold on. People complain about the LA Galaxy?
Can't believe it.
Tell me about this.
If you see all this, it's that they were like, well, they're not making any moves. I'm like, well, you're not going to touch the offense. The offense was the second or third best in Major League Soccer.
Yeah.
You just need to fix the defense. You're talking one or two players. That's it.
Which is the other interesting thing when all these rumors are midfield based, because you're not hearing tons of rumors about defenders coming our way, and so that's something that maybe
that's the red flag.
You can't announce anything until maybe these talks are happening. But if the rumors are coming out, then there's got to be maybe a small kernel of truth there. So the fact that there's no rumors coming out with defenders, to me, that's concerning.
There's one.
There's one. All right.
Actually, there's two, but I'm just going to squash both of them.
Cold.
Yeah. If you go on the off-season tracker, I sort of rank the rumors. And by the way, this is a real scientific ranking. It's how I feel about them. And there have been many rumors, by the way, Eric, that have gone from frigid or cold to hot very quickly. Like there's no warm in there sometimes.
Yeah, there's not a lot of middle ground.
No, it happens. So like if you look at all that, that's how it goes. But I get to squash some of those. But if you're looking at this, I mean, which team are you trying to fix, Eric? That's sort of the question, because you have two teams that played last year. The team that played for most of the season, and then the team that went on that run at the end of the year that had a quote-unquote very good defense.
That's a great way to put it. Which team are you trying to fix? Because, or do you stick with what worked at the end and fine-tune it, or do you just try to retool how you started? Yeah, I like the way you put that. So I think either way defensively, you need some adjustments.
You need one.
Yeah.
You need one for sure. You possibly need two.
Yeah.
And it depends on how you line up. Now, you can put Steres and Romney together, and then you can put Shelvik out at left back, and you put Rolf Felcher. And now you have a back line that is different than what it was last year.
Like I said, if you look at the roster,
you have that team.
Technically have a team.
You have that team, yes. So, no, I mean, if you look at that and sort of how that goes, you can see that the Galaxy need to make moves. But, I mean, again, I'm at 21 players now. Roster pretty much tops out at 28. You can go all the way up to 30, but there
is room.
There's room to add like one more good player.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how much that is, by the way. I love seeing everybody on Reddit and Facebook telling me how much money the LA Galaxy have. Galaxy don't have any money. I know getting rid of Zlatan at the $1.5 million. Well, TAM now makes you think that that the Galaxy have $1.5 million in TAM. Maybe.
And it goes back to the salaries, because then who got bumped? How much of that bump, now eats into, TAM or GAM or JAM or whatever we're calling it this week?
It's JAM.
It's GAM, but that's all right.
It's JAM because it's general allocation money.
But the bottom line is it's not going to be a straight 1.5 million for 1.5 million swap.
No, and there's going to be raises that are going to eat into salaries all over the place. I know of some raises that are coming that are going to hit salary cap. I mean, again, we've talked about it. There's going to be guys who you're not very happy with are going to get raises because it's built into the contract. And despite the fact that MLS likes to rewrite rules on contracts all the time, they are not going to be able to get out of those like guaranteed raise contracts. So that's just going to happen. So there's inflation coming on this Galaxy roster, and so getting the different things. Granted, Juninho made $700,000 with the Chicago Fire in 2017. So how much did they get him in 2019 after not playing last year? I would think that if it's over $300,000, that it's a lot of money.
Yeah, I think.
I would say it's the 175 to 200 range is probably pretty.
That smells about right.
Right, and
nowhere near 700,000.
It's not 700. Sure. Yeah, it can't be. You look at Matt Lampson, and by the way, he seems like. But I think his first tweet, whenever he found out that he got selected by the reentry draft, it came very quickly. By the way, it was all he said like, "Hey, LA, what do you say we get another star or something like that?" And it's like.
All right. Ambitious guy.
Like this guy. All right. That's how it is.
And when you read about his background, he does have an amazing story. The survivor of Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he's definitely, you can tell he's gonna put himself at the mercy of the fans and the club. He's someone who people are going to be able to get behind him.
He was the winner of the Humanitarian of the Year award for Major League Soccer. He has this foundation called lampstrong.com, which I encourage you to go to because I think they have cool shirts. Not just the fact
that's what it's all about.
It's the cool shirts. I mean, if you can rope me in with anything, but his program and foundation should really get a boost by the LA Galaxy. I'm guessing.
Yes.
That's a great sort of pairing between those two. The Galaxy love to do the philanthropic things. Yeah. They like to support foundations, and having the Lampstrong Foundation with Matt Lampson, who again seems like he's the number 2. But he made $100,000 last year. So, again, you went from Justin Vom Steeg, who made $54,000 last year as the backup, to Matt Lampson, who made double that, basically, at $100,000. That's $50,000 you're going to have to account for on these different things, and really he's taken the place of Silvestri, and Silvestri made on the supplemental roster 67.5. Now they're allowed to renegotiate that contract, so we don't know what it's going to be this year.
Okay.
But that was part of the stage
the
two,
the second stage. So he may not be making 100,000, but you look at what the second and third string were making for the Galaxy last year. So he's going to fall somewhere, between Silvestri and what his actual salary is this season. And you talked about the humanitarian piece, and then you tie in with the Dignity Health partnership, and so
home run. We just made the Galaxy money, didn't we? I mean,
it all works out very nicely. So I'm curious to see what the renegotiation is.
Right.
But it definitely looks like we have our backup goalkeeper, and for those of you who are maybe Bingham is not your favorite player, you're not your favorite goalkeeper, maybe he might get some minutes because he was someone who was getting starting minutes. Over in Minnesota. So
nine games played, games start, 810 minutes last year in 2018, 0 shutouts, 20 goals against, 31 saves.
Right, 0 shutouts.
It was Minnesota.
That's true.
Minnesota. Career total for him, by the way, 60 games played. So he's a guy who's been around. 5,270 minutes, 16 shutouts total, 194 saves, 90 goals against. So that's good. I don't think he's ever stopped a penalty kick, though. Penalty kick goal 9, penalty kick attempts 9. Yeah, 9. He's missed every single one.
Then he's due.
He's due. That's
he's
right.
due.
He's going to go on a string.
That's how I read that.
That's like going to Vegas. It's like,
it's hit red.
It's gone red 7 times. All in on black, baby. I know how that works. So that's good to have him there. I really think that's a good addition by the LA Galaxy. Dennis DeClosa, nailing it in terms of that. Let's talk though about Dennis DeClosa nailing something here, and that was getting Guillermo Barros Schelotto to the LA Galaxy. The report from Kevin Baxter, co-host here on Corner of the Galaxy from the Box, was reports that Guillermo Barros Schelotto has been hired by the LA Galaxy. If you are waiting for an official announcement, you can wait, and it'll come sometime, we imagine, next week, as it certainly seems that Schelotto is going to have to land and then quickly transition into the combine.
I was going to say, he does have to get here first. That is part of it.
He does. So he is going to come. I asked the Galaxy if there are any plans for releasing the flight information so that way Galaxy fans could go meet him. And currently, there's nothing planned.
They're not going to do it like they brought Zlatan in. They're not going to have a whole team of people there.
Well, the private jet thing, that sort of helped out the whole Zlatan thing. So hey, I will gladly do the GPS tracker if we can find Guillermo when he's coming, and we can figure out which airplane he's coming on. We can lead you to that. But anyway, he was offered a multi-year contract. That is the word. Multi-year in this particular case means more than 2. We assume that means 3, and 3 seems like that is the correct answer. We know 3 sounds like a correct answer because the Galaxy also offered Caleb Porter 3 years to become the coach of the LA Galaxy. And then Porter went around and played that with the Columbus Crew, and good for him, got 5 years and reportedly $1 million a year.
Wow.
So
good for you, Caleb Porter.
So let's go back here just for a second. Let's just for a second talk about how the GBS signing, Guillermo Barros Schelotto, how Schelotto came to be at the LA Galaxy. The LA Galaxy did start talks in the fall and reached out to him, so he was somebody that was on their list. However, we all know that they offered the job to Caleb Porter. We also know they offered the job to Dominic Kinnear. We also know that both of those guys said no. The fact is that the same contract that Guillermo Barros Schelotto basically took seems like the one that Caleb Porter probably turned down.
Okay.
We don't know what that money is, what it is. I imagine it's a pretty good...
comparable.
It's a good deal, but it's a 3-year deal. And the Galaxy were going to have to offer a 3-year deal to almost anybody, and they tried to do the 1-year thing with Dominic Kinnear to buy themselves more time to do it.
Yeah, the more you look at that, the more it looks like that was... an empty gesture, because how you offered someone 3 years, and then you're going to offer someone 1 year who's been there. Maybe you do it just to say, hey, we offered you something, but it doesn't seem like that was ever really a viable option.
No, and he rightfully turned it down. He wanted they were going to have to offer it after firing so many coaches. You're going to have to give the extra year, so it was 2 years.
Can't be paying everybody for.
You can't be paying everybody. So the 3 years is that stability that gets Schelotto here. But let's not pretend that Dennis DeClosa did something amazing.
That was the move. That's how didn't they spin it that way though? DeClosa
didn't want Porter. It was he didn't want Porter at 5 years. Once at 5 years, but he offered him at 3 years. He was and I was told specifically that DeClosa was looking forward to working with Porter. You don't understand. This deal was done.
Yeah.
Everybody expected it to be
signed.
They
went to the Laker game.
They went to the Laker. They were at the Laker game. So all this, that deal was, I know Kevin and I were waiting for the final confirmation. Now, the people we were talking to said it's not done, but it's basically done, right? And basically done is not done, by the way. But it's one of those things where you're like, oh, okay, I should start writing my Caleb Porter piece. Okay, so I have a Caleb Porter piece that is now in the trash. Okay,
I think you should post that. Just Bizarro universe.
In an alternate universe.
Alternate universe.
Yeah, Caleb Porter
to go with Infinity War. How everything, the alternate realms. I think that plays.
No, it does. So, I mean, here is what actually happened, at least as far as I understand it, is the LA Galaxy offered, and that includes Dennis Closa, and it includes Chris Klein, offer Caleb Porter the contract. Caleb Porter then turns around and goes to Columbus and says, hey, the Galaxy gave me this. What are you going to give me? And Columbus says, we're going to give you 5 years, $1 million a year. And Caleb says, adios, guys.
Yeah, that's
which by the way,
decision.
I'd make that decision too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going $5 million contract for 5 years. Yeah. That all makes sense to me. So he's gone. At some point, there seems to be an offer for Dominic Kinnear, whether that was before Porter or after Porter or however that was, but it was for 1 year, and apparently it was turned down, and that went away. Schelotto comes in and takes the 3-year contract that Caleb Porter turned down. But I mean, if you're playing this at the very best, Schelotto is their third option. The third option.
Which, when you look at his resume and you look at what he's done over the last 2 seasons at Boca Juniors in Argentina, it is puzzling that he wasn't the number one option.
2 championships with Boca Juniors. Yeah,
and it's not. That they're not a nobody.
No.
And so you can say he hasn't been coaching for that long, but at the same time, he's had success where he's been. He knows MLS because he's played here. He has been MVP of a cup final, and he knows what it's like to be in the playoffs. And so it's also interesting when you think about Atlanta and some of the other teams who were in discussions, why he wasn't picked up. So that's a
another
little odd.
thing.
Yeah. Why was he not picked up by Columbus, where there's ties, and Atlanta, where there's Argentinian. I never get that
Argentinian,
one right.
I believe.
Argentinian connections.
Yes, Argentine. No, I think you were right the first time.
That's what I'm saying. I never get it right. But with those connections there, and you wonder what made that fall through. So maybe that's why he was number 3 with the Galaxy, for the same reasons that
they thought they weren't going to get him.
Yeah, the other teams passed on him. But when you look at it, I think it's a great hire. But you're absolutely right. This is like, I forget which cartoon it was, where they're going to crash, and then the car does a flip and a barrel roll, and it ends up landing perfectly in the parking spot. So yeah, you landed in the parking spot and everything's okay. But you were going to crash the car. It should have been crashed.
The right outcome became of this.
Yes.
All right. Everything happened, and it happened well, and it all works it works.
I'm happy with it. And I think the fan base is happy with it.
You should be. This is a great hire, and it's a guy who now listen, I'm going to downplay this a little bit just because I think it's worth noting. You have 2 guys now who have MLS experience, but it's not recent MLS experience. I mean, Teclosa, I think, tapped out in 2008. So you're talking about 10 years of rule changes from 2008 to 2018, 2019. And you have Schelotto, who never managed but was a player, and he taps out, again, around the same time.
But to rebut you, they're proven winners where they've gone.
Absolutely.
And so they know what a winning culture is and how to cultivate that. And so winning in, the year 1990 and winning in 2000 and 2008, they know what it's like to win. And I think that you feel that, and as silly as that sounds, there's a tangible feeling to that, and you know what it is when you're around it. And I think, DTK and GBS, I love that we're going all initials here. I think they know what it's like to win, and they've been around it. And I think regardless of MLS rules, and they'll be able to figure that out because they know how to win.
Yeah, it's great. There's already the rivalry people are building up between San Jose and the LA Galaxy, because you have Almeida, who was over at River, and then you had Guillermo Barros Schelotto, who was at Boca Juniors, and they're rivals, and now you have LA and San Jose, who will be rivals, and who have been rivals, but like continue that sort of angry. They're gonna stare at each other, and there's gonna be angriness.
Yeah, hopefully there's some sideline scuffles. We haven't seen one of those in a while.
And by the way, and you said this, if need be. Schelotto seems like he's still in fighting shape.
I did say that before the show. Schelotto, if we need another midfielder, like I said, if we end up with a catastrophe where we're short on midfielders, Schelotto looks like he could still go. And I remember seeing that MLS Cup final when Columbus, brought it home.
Yeah, over the New York Red Bulls at Home Depot Center.
That was he can still go. I feel like he's the right guy. And when you look at the players, respecting their manager, he has the resume, playing in South America, playing in the league, and winning, accolades. The players are going to respect him. And I think that's something that should be mentioned as well, is because, he looks like he could still go. He can probably still go on the training ground, and that's important. And so the players are gonna respond well to that, I believe.
It's regardless of how it now has eventually got there, right? Regardless of how it all went down, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. The bottom line is that with Dennis DeClosa, with Guillermo Barros Schelotto, with those guys aligning forces, it feels like it's right.
Yeah.
And with some of the rumors that have linked them to younger players and South American talents, you're sitting there, and if you're a Galaxy fan, you're salivating. You're saying, this is what we wanted.
We've been saying this for the last 3 seasons.
You have Dennis DeClosa sending a jersey to Yuli Yanez's father. Yeah, and talking and sending him a first team jersey and basically just wishing him a happy new year. And you never got this jersey because you didn't play for us, but the door's always open. And apparently Yanez's contract is falling apart in different places. He's tried to go different places, and that is not happening. So there could be a way and a door possibly opened for Uli to come back and do that.
Yeah, what it reminds me of is you see this a lot in college football. You have someone who's not just a head coach, but a great recruiter. And that's what DeClosa feels like. He feels like he's the one who knows how to seal the deal, speak with the families, and I've been on Instagram a lot recently with a little side project we have going on. And you see how DeClosa responds to people and interacts with people. He seems like a very personable person who knows how to, I don't want to say sweet talk because that makes it sound
dirty.
Yeah,
it's not.
But he knows how to build relationships, and that is going to be huge in terms of acquiring young talent.
Because all this young talent stuff and all of the, all this recruiting, the academy stuff, it's trying to get younger players to come to Major League Soccer. It's about like putting a little bug in their ear now and picking that bug back up next year.
And that's the thing. You're not going to speak to a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid and influence them, but you are going to speak to their parents and be able to connect with them. And I think that's the connection that DeClosa is really going to, he's going to be strong there. And when you look at Southern California, that's how you're going to bring those kids into the academy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I told you right now the LA Galaxy seem to, at least behind the scenes, be working on timing for the Schelotto announcement, being that the MLS Combine, which kicks off sort of this MLS SuperDraft that's coming up on January 11th, the MLS Combine at Orlando City Stadium for the second straight year is from January 3rd to the 9th. So you're talking about New Year, Combine, MLS SuperDraft, start of preseason.
Good times.
Yeah, I mean, and right now, by the way, still have not seen an official start date of the LA Galaxy for preseason. We're imagining, once again, it is January 21st.
They have games scheduled for the preseason, so hopefully in February, so hopefully they get to the training ground soon.
Yeah, I was going to say, there is that OC Great Park date.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell everybody now, you should probably save before that game.
It's on my calendar.
You should save some time before that game. That game is at a 5 p.m., which is way different than what it was last year, which I think was like a 1 or 2 p.m. kickoff.
Yeah, and yes, it's February, but it's still Southern California. So yeah, the 1 p.m., no matter what time of year.
No, 5 p.m.
That's a rough start. 5 p.m. is a good call.
5 p.m. at OC Great Park. I am going to work, and I've already started to reach out on doing an event before that that will be in Orange County, which is near the studio. It won't be at the studio this time. If I can make it work, it'll be somewhere else.
Nice.
But that might be better because there might be beer involved. So that's, again, that's good.
I had it marked on my calendar, but now I really have it marked. I'm going over in marker now.
That's right. It's using the Sharpie. So we're going to give you details of that as soon as we can confirm things and get that going. But it is my intent to have a live show on that day.
Oh, good times.
Which we haven't done. So
we're gonna invited.
Yes, you.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm on. The mics are hot. I got to ask now.
Yes. While it can be recorded, I can just edit that part out.
All right,
Don't
perfect.
worry about it.
It's live. Chat room, back me up.
No, I'll delete the video. It's fine. So anyway, so that's something to sort of pay attention to. But so with Schelotto coming in, and by the way, rumors now that I was not able to confirm, but that I've been told makes a ton of sense. Reports have Schelotto bringing his evil twin, just his twin brother.
He should wear a mustache, the twin brher. Just,
a fake mustache?
Yeah, fake mustache.
It's going to be hard enough to tell these guys apart, and then they're going to have twin brothers. So his twin brother, Gustavo, who has traveled with him to many different places whenever they've been coaching, and his trusted assistant, Pereira, and I believe his son's right. Ariel Pereira is from Boca as well. So you're coming in with an intact coaching staff with probably adding a goalkeeping coach. I'm just going to say Matt Reese is still available in case anybody wants to. I'm just throwing that out there. Matt Reese.
But this is par for the course. Whenever head coaches move over, their assistants always go with them. I always think of Mourinho. When Mourinho goes, his assistant is right there with him every time. And so it makes sense that when Guillermo comes, so does Gustavo. So it seems like it's going to be a package deal.
Somebody said on Twitter that whenever the Galaxy have a bad game,
send Gustavo out there.
Yeah, that Guillermo's going to be like, it wasn't me, it was my evil twin brother, So we'll see how that goes. But I think that's a good sign that he's coming in with an intact, and it should help that transition be quick and sort of seamless, and they have an idea of already how they want to do things.
The assistant coaching staff is not going to need to learn how he does things. They're going to know how he runs his ship.
That's right, and they're already going to be coming in firing. So that January 21st, not as scary as perhaps if you still had to create a coaching staff, because the Galaxy are running out of days here very quickly. Now, we move to that January 11th, and I am going to get to the rumors. I know the chat room is just buzzing. What about this guy? What about that? I'm going to get there. We're getting there. But we have to go through the MLS SuperDraft first, which is hysterical because I finally went through and found the LA Galaxy's picks today. And they have some picks. Boy, do they have some picks. As a matter of fact, in the 4 rounds of the MLS SuperDraft that will take place on January 11th at McCormick Place in Chicago, which I've been to, by the way, I will not be going to this draft, although I should. So maybe that's
field trip.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds like a good idea. So if you go and count them in those 4 rounds, the LA Galaxy have 6 picks in those 4 rounds. Now, some of them are quote unquote in garbage time in the 3rd and 4th round. I was
going to say, especially when you consider how well the Galaxy have stacked their roster with the MLS SuperDraft in years past. So I'm curious to see how these 6 picks will pan out.
All right, so let me give you the rounds, the pick, the overall pick, and then sort of where they all came from and different things with that. Round number 1, the LA Galaxy have the 12th pick, and that is the 12th overall pick because it's in the first round. That's their natural selection. In the second round, they pick 12th. In the second round, 36th overall, which is also their natural selection, which means that they didn't trade for it or anything like that. That is just where they fell in terms of the overall draft.
I love that term, natural selection. It just seems like, we are getting these college players or these youngsters and, we're going to let Darwin sort them out. Natural selection. We're going to figure it out.
What's the pigs, the Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies.
That's what it is. It's going to be that all over again. So round number 3 now gets exciting. The LA Galaxy have 3 picks in round number 3. They have the 3rd overall pick in the 3rd round, which is the 51st overall. They acquired from Orlando on 12/27/17. So they have that one in the 3rd round. They also have the next pick, which is the 4th pick and the 52nd overall, acquired from Colorado on 12/14/17. They have a 3rd round natural selection pick, which is the 12th pick in the 3rd round and the 60th overall. And then finally you get into the 4th pick, or the 4th round pick, which is the 14th pick of that round, of the 4th round, and the 86th pick overall, which was acquired from DC United on 12/12/16.
That was a lot of numbers. And if you're listening, just
crash the car.
Just go to the rumor tracker because that was a lot of numbers to throw out there. But it is interesting to see some of those acquired picks because when you look at the dates and when those were acquired,
we went back and looked up some of them.
Yeah, why did DC United give us something in 2016
and
we looked a 4th round? Yeah.
Miguel Aguilar. It was the rights to Miguel Aguilar, yes. I believe, or something like that.
It was Miguel Aguilar. Yeah.
Did he come to the Galaxy?
He ended up coming and playing on Los Dos. Yeah,
right, but then the Galaxy also acquired a pick with that as he came. So yeah. I don't know.
It's something they got it. And you see acquired from Colorado. I'm assuming Jack McBean was involved in that.
That could have been that one.
12/17. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's just interesting how it worked out. It seemed like this is the year where the Galaxy are loaded with picks. I don't imagine them.
They can't pick 6 players.
Yeah,
they can't. They don't have the roster
with how many
room
roster spots and the caliber of player that comes through this. Maybe you get 1 or 2 that pan out.
That 1st round pick is important.
Yeah.
The 2nd round pick is important. After that, you sort of just see what it is. I'll tell you right now, the Galaxy don't have the roster room for 6, so they could stock LA Galaxy Academy, and I mean the LA Galaxy 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the reserve team with that, but that's not really what you use the draft for, and that's not really how it works. And you have the MLS rights to these people when you do it. The other thing is that trying to get rid of some of those picks is going to be difficult because there's no other people.
Who's going to want the 2016 pick from DC United in the 4th round? That's not an attractive asset. You can't pack that up to Cincinnati.
I think it's like one of those, like, if you're going to take this player, you also have to take that pick. You have to take it.
It's passing the hot potato.
That's right. So as it comes around, I'll tell you, though, with the 6 picks, what it allows them to do is Bruce Arena's favorite thing, which is pass. and pass on some of those picks, which people will hate.
And it's got to be heartbreaking if you're there hoping to get selected.
And the Galaxy are like,
pass.
oh,
No thanks.
No thanks.
We'd rather take nothing.
So anyway, those are the picks, and those could change, by the way. On the off-season tracker that I have up right there, you'll find all of those picks, where they are acquired from, and sort of all those numbers, as Eric was saying, it was a lot. You'll also find that the allocation was updated today because Toronto got Laurent Simon, and that was an allocation order, and Toronto had to trade up to the first position from the second position. FC Cincinnati had the first position. Toronto.
Sure. I'm just nodding my head. Sure.
Toronto gets Saman, who was, of course, with LAFC, and then went to Jean.
That makes it interesting.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a little spicy.
That was the captain who wanted to go back home to Dijon, needed to go, and now has reemerged back in Canada.
That was a short turnaround trip.
Well, and it was, you figure that it has something to do with his daughter, I think, who was getting medical care.
I have seen those rumors, and not to make light of it, but, hopefully, it's something where, if it's something for his family and it works out,
that's great.
Good for him.
That's right. That's how it works. So now you have SC Cincinnati back in the first spot and Toronto back in the back spot. By the way, they didn't move the Galaxy at all. They're still in the exact same spot that they were in, I believe. I don't think I'm wrong with that. I don't know. Go look at the allocation order. They were 11th last time I checked.
Professional podcaster.
That's right. That's how I did it. All right, let's get to the rumors now. The rumors are an important part of this just because you need to know what to pay attention to, what not to pay attention to. Let's start with 20-year-old Reece Oxford to the LA Galaxy on loan. This was from West Ham United. West Ham apparently was this particular defender, Reece Oxford, is unhappy with his contract, wants to get moved, and that there has been interest from several American outlets. But I think Arsenal was also interested, and some of the other big name
tough
teams.
Competition.
And so there was this loan idea to the LA Galaxy. Kevin Baxter came out, shot this down pretty quickly, saying the Galaxy say there's no truth to report, so you can throw Reece Oxford. That's in the frigid cold one line of that. So it could be other teams in Major League Soccer that are interested. But
and I think we say this every time that there's a rumor. Whenever there's rumors of a player coming to Major League Soccer, the LA Galaxy just always get thrown because of brand recognition.
Right.
So, it may be real, it may not be real, but the Galaxy's name is always going to get thrown out there no matter what, if there's a link to the league.
Yeah, very well could be. Now let's get to the other rumor, which isn't as cold, but might just be like lukewarm. I have it as cold because I just don't believe it as well. This is the one I know the chat room has been just berating me about. 23-year-old defender Juan Escobar, a Paraguayan who's made one appearance for the Paraguayan national team in 2017, made 40 appearances for Cerro Porteño in 2018. He is 23 years old, which of course gets everybody super excited about.
23-year-old defender that checks all the boxes.
Now his agent has come out and said this is going to be the most expensive transfer in Paraguayan football history. So already you know that MLS is not really, he doesn't know how MLS works.
So shout out to his agent. For
right?
pumping him up.
Pump it up.
He's
That's
doing
right.
his job.
You don't want your agent to be like, oh, this will be a reasonably priced transfer.
Exactly. You want your agent. Yeah, that's the kind of agent you want.
Yeah, and so it's one of those. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. It's fine. I'm good with that. So anyway, I did reach out to some of my sources about this, and was asked who that guy was. So I will tell you that as of right now, it's not something that I'm paying attention to.
The Google search is on.
Yeah, you can do a lot of things. You can find. I mean, he seems like he's a good player. It just doesn't seem like that there's any sort of heat to this rumor at all. And like we say, we always try to look for the smoke.
Yes.
When there's smoke, and then eventually you can get to fire. But right now, it feels like there's no matches.
Still in the cold.
Still in the cold. So in the dead of winter, there is no heat right now for Juan Escobar. Now that can change. Certainly, my sources are not all knowing everything, but there's people close enough that I usually get a heads up. I knew Juninho was probably somebody to pay attention to about 2 or 3 weeks before he signed, so we had that one sort of paying attention and getting that correctly. So you can sort of see how some of these things go, and Schelotto happened so quickly over a lot of things that we didn't have him on the tracker. So I mean, things like that happen. And guys, this is how it usually happens. Is guys will appear out of nowhere, and very quickly you realize it's very real, and that it happens, and there's buzz, and I can hear it, and I can be like,
something's happening here.
I never heard of this guy ever before, and now I better study him on YouTube because this is going to happen. And then there's ones that take forever to fizzle out. There's like, oh, this guy. You're like, no, not that guy. Sebastian Lletget was that way.
Speaking of West Ham,
yeah, exactly. Sebastian Lletget was that way. There was a West Ham it was a blog. It wasn't like an official news source that had Sebastian Lletget going to the LA Galaxy for like 4 months.
Wow.
And I'm like, that can't be true because it was 4 months. But it was. We just found out later that the contract got held up, and then one of the teams didn't want Sebastian to come back to the Galaxy, and they tried to stop it. And eventually, Major League Soccer said, well, then you have to get something or make it go away. And eventually, I think it was New England who wanted him.
It's always New England throwing a wrench in the plans.
You know what? That's true. It's Bob Kraft is what
Bob
it is.
Kraft,
That's he's just egging everybody on.
It's his collar and his sleeves that mess things up.
Yeah, and again, there's so many transfer accounts out there. I pay attention to them. I mean, you have to pay attention to them. You have to look and you have to say, does this make sense? Now, this is a defender, so it makes sense. The other one, Reese Oxford, a defender, makes sense.
Young, defender. And part of this is you want it to be true. You want these people who were standouts and youth programs and show a lot of promise. These are the types of players you want the Galaxy going after. It's just a matter to see if it's real.
Yeah, and we don't know. So we sort of sit here and guess a little bit.
Another piece of it is with Schelotto coming in, naturally there's going to be rumors of players that he's coached and he has. So I think that's the next level is going to be all the players that are linked to Schelotto specifically. That's going to be the next phase of this is, what players from Boca are going to be following, what players that he knows has connections with. So I think that's going to be the next piece.
Well, I don't get to be a fan of too many things like on a regular basis, but if Pato ever actually comes to the LA Galaxy, his butt is going to be sitting in this studio.
It's a matter of time.
And Kevin's getting kicked to the curb because it's the Pato and Pato show, and that's how it is. The Panda will be out. It'll be Pato and Panda watching from outside. So
this is going to be a good time.
That's right. That's how it goes. Also, Zlatan, of course, is always welcome to come in here and sit down anytime he wants to come.
Got to go ice fishing with Zlatan.
That's what I said. We need to talk about this because it's the perfect time to talk about it. But you need to. So Eric has started you sell it because you do it. I love it. It's a place that I get to I love social media. I follow things. I do it, but I can't possibly catch everything. And Eric has taken it upon himself on Instagram to start Professional Foul.
The Professional Foul.
Sorry, I even came up with the name. You think I helped with that. The Professional Foul. It's on Instagram and it's Galaxy.
It's at Galaxy Profile,
right? Okay.
On Instagram, because I didn't want you to type out the whole thing.
Yeah.
And basically, just from following all of the Galaxy players on Instagram and seeing their stories, it's interesting. And especially when you see them comment on each other's posts and go back and forth, it almost felt like, this needs to be documented. And there are a lot of fans out there who already follow these players, but this is just going to be a home, where you can see Zlatan ice fishing. You can see Jonathan Dos Santos wearing scuba goggles. So it's something to have a little bit of fun. It's not there to, expose anyone or catch anything. It's just a place to have a little fun.
If they put it on Instagram,
and like the Yuli, Yanez thing, that was something that Teclos is involved. So that may lead to something, in the Galaxy's future. So if we see something like that, then, you're going to put it on there. So if that's something that interests you, I think the other way we put it, it's like e-news, but for the Galaxy.
Yeah.
So basically, if you want to know what's going on in their lives, follow at Galaxy Profile and the Professional Foul.
And don't pretend like y'all don't follow e-news and follow that stuff, and you're like flipping through the stories.
You know exactly what we're talking about.
You know exactly. So Eric is running that. It's linked here with Corner of the Galaxy, so it is technically under our umbrella. He's been doing a great job. I think some people in the front office already follow you and are watching your posts. Sir.
I'll be careful.
Well, listen. I mean, if it's up to them, right? They don't have to follow everybody's posts either. They can just follow you.
That's true. I'm doing there, and that's the thing that I've learned while doing this. We discussed this, off mic and said, okay, let's come up with this idea. And as I started doing it, I realized, I don't know that I'm on vacation right now, so I'm able to handle it. But once I actually have my real job to do, I don't know how I'm going to be able to keep up with this, because you really can this is a full-time job, keeping up with the Instagram lives of LA Galaxy players.
I mean, you can have a spin-off Jermaine Jones channel all by itself.
I forget someone brought that up. They said, where's the Jermaine Jones content? And I said, I gave up on that because he's his own content. I'm not going to do any justice, handpicking the highlights, but I am following. And that's a great story if you want to follow Jermaine Jones, because that guy is his own soap opera.
It's exciting. There you go. That's all I can say. So, of course, at Galaxy Profile on Instagram, stories, Instagram posts, stuff like that. My favorite part is that he reposts stuff I put on Instagram. So that's always nice.
Yeah, it's a family program.
It's a family
program. Look at that. Someone started following. The
Already?
live show is working.
Woohoo, magic.
Just got my update.
Magic. All right. Some LA Galaxy alumni news before we get out of here. Oscar Sorto has popped up, and apparently he has and will be joining Santa Tecla FC. And no, I have no idea where that is, and we should have checked that before we started this. So you check that out while I tell you where he's coming from. Oscar Sorto, of course, formerly of LA Galaxy 2 in the LA Galaxy Academy, and then went over to Orange County FC of the USL, now has come back and will be playing for Santa Tecla FC, just if you're looking for the...
It's a Salvadorian multi-sport club based in Santa Tecla.
There you go.
So you know.
I mean,
in El Salvador.
I figured it was probably the name of somewhere. I just didn't know where it was.
And it said El Salvador. I don't know if it's saying that he's El Salvadorian or if the club's El Salvadorian.
It's a translation.
The translation's a little funky there. But basically, he's going to El Salvador to play some soccer,
which is good. So if you had that one, I don't know if we put this one on there. I'm pretty sure we talked about it. But Ari Lassiter to Alajuelense, which is where his dad played at one point as well. So Ari Lassiter, LA Galaxy alumni news as well in that direction. So I think that's about it. I don't know that there's much more to talk about.
Much more. That was plenty. That was a lot. We had a lot to talk about in this little hibernation window.
Yeah, it's a weird week. It's a weird week. I don't like it. We're basically getting ready to wrap up the Corner of the Galaxy fiscal year here, which happens to land on the calendar year as well.
Bring those W-2s out.
Yeah. Let's not talk about that. So all these things. I think the LA Galaxy now 65 days until the match against Chicago. So if you're paying attention to that, the days are taking down. You're almost 3 months.
It's going to come up
away.
very, very quickly. You think about how from season's end to now, it doesn't feel like it's been that long, but we're about the same distance from the end of the season that we are from starting the season.
Yeah, I would like to point out one time that you during the show have amassed 1,172 Audi index points.
Oh wow. I think that's not a new record. I've
surpassed that before. Yeah, I think you got a million once. I have negative 472,000.
It's the Pato reference. Yeah. You got to stop bringing that up.
I got to stop bringing it up, and that goes out to one of our chat room guys who said that we each got minus 50 Audi index points for not mentioning the Audi index. So
Burn. You know what? Wheels within wheels.
Burn. All right, that's how we roll here. All right, this is a live show. I can throw it in at any time I want. Okay. I think that about does it. The LA Galaxy getting ready to, by the way, I would like to point out the front office of the LA Galaxy is technically off this week. And so there's nothing that's supposed to be
why you're not seeing the official announcements.
Yeah. And
so follow at Galaxy Profile on Instagram.
And it's tough whenever you're trying to announce news in this window. It's a bad window to announce news. People aren't paying attention. Funny enough, when people are at work, they pay more attention to Galaxy news than whenever like the weekends or off days.
That's probably true.
That's the 100% true. I can show you the numbers. So anyway, so that's how it goes. So as far as the next podcast, Kevin and I again off because it is going to be New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve we'd have to record on.
It's all the same thing.
Whatever it is. New Year's Eve we'd have to record on. I actually have a wedding that I'm going to that night.
I just found out that that's a thing. New Year's Eve's wedding. I've never been to a New Year's Eve wedding, and I heard it's a thing.
You didn't know it was a thing?
I did not know it was. I've never been, so how would I know?
But I have to
enjoy.
I have to go on a boat.
On a boat and New Year's Eve. This is a double whammy.
It is. I promised the groom that I would only sing "I'm on a Boat" 3 times because it's
not enough.
It's the only real song that I know about a boat.
I think you lose Audi index points for singing.
I think I gain them.
We'll see.
So
we'll leave it to the chat room.
So we'll be back possibly next Thursday. So a week from Thursday, we're going to be back and have another show. And we'll get you updated on all the stuff that's happening just before the MLS SuperDraft and anything else that has sort of happened in terms of official announcements and anything like that. LA Galaxy getting closer and closer to the kickoff at the start of the year. January 21st is the date we're anticipating preseason starting. So set your calendars for that. There are preseason games and dates all out there right now. So you're going to want to do that as well. Eric, anything else?
That's it.
All right.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, I was going to say, tell people where they can find you, and we'll get on out of here.
You can find me on Twitter at GISHammer. Still at 498. Got to get a 500. So, throw me a follow on Twitter. You can also hear me on Guys in Shorts. So you can follow them at Guys in Shorts LA on Twitter. You can also listen to me this week, Double Dose of Pod. I was at the Kings Realm Pod talking about the Los Angeles Kings, if that's your thing. And like we mentioned earlier, you can follow all your Galaxy social media news at The Professional Foul on Instagram at Galaxy Profile.
All right. If you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at Guesman, JGUESMAN, and of course at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com where you can find all of our articles, all of our written articles, all of our podcasts, anything, including the off-season trackers there as well. We're going to have some new merchandise, a new shirt coming out here in the next couple of weeks. Again, save that date, same date as the February OC Great Park game where the LA Galaxy, I think they're the Whitecaps. I think it's the Whitecaps.
Whitecaps,
yeah,
yes.
it's the Whitecaps. There, so save that date. Just block out before that game, a couple, 3-4 hours, and maybe we're going to set something up down here in Orange County and try to put together a live show. I'll have more details on that as we get closer. All right, for Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, I'm Josh Guesman. You've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast, and be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. And for all of your independent LA Galaxy news, discussion, and entertainment, including this podcast, head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. Fans, thanks for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.